Okay, I'm recording.
Recording.
Captain, are you recording?
Yeah, you're
That's
muted.
wonderful. I love that.
I am recording, and now I'm muted.
Lovely, lovely. Okay. Welcome to High Level Games present Star Trek Adventure, the ongoing adventures of the USS Bonaventure, NCC 2835. I am your game master, VP Quinn, and this is your crew. What I'd like everyone to do is to introduce themselves, but while introducing yourself, I'd like you to tell me a childhood memory that's very pleasant for your character.
All right. My name is Vanessa. I'm playing Dr. Bassa Idem. A fun childhood memory for this doctor is her parents were both science officers and did a lot of research. Sometimes I got to sit and help them calculate different things and just kind of be a part of it, right? Little kids were kind of boring, but my parents were awesome.
Nerd.
Okay, I'm Michael, playing Captain Celis Argel. And one pleasant childhood memory when Celis was very young was being with his parents in in Kendra province on Bajor. And for a few days, they didn't see any Cardassians, and it was really nice. It was really beautiful. There was no murdering, and he looks back on it fondly.
Nice.
I'm Jake. I'm playing First Commander and Science Officer Kieran Hex. A fond memory he has from his childhood. He grew up on Luna, and taking trips to the park with his sisters and his mother, going on picnics. It's really the first place where he started to really love plants.
I'm Tim. I'm playing Marcus Barton. Marcus's earliest, one of his favorite memories was from before his parents died, and they took him on his first hunt.
Interesting. What did you hunt?
We were hunting probably, I don't know, Denobulan deer.
Denobulan deer.
Sure.
Interesting. Very nice deer.
Very friendly, very chatty. Really nice deer.
We ate him. It was delicious.
I straight up love the character of Dr. It's one of my favorite Star Trek characters, and I really don't get why people don't love him as much as I do, because I just love the character.
He really was my favorite as well on Enterprise. It was kind of the bright spot of Enterprise.
In a lot of ways. All right, so let's get started. We wrapped up our last episode. Our episode today is the marriage of Caesara, or the wedding of Caesara. And some current events announcement. A day of mourning occurred in Trinidad. A statue of General Vlaseg and a memorial for the rest of the deaths during what is called the Trinidad Final Stand has been commissioned by a nearly unanimous vote of the Great Guild. The ruling cabinet of the Great Guild, the mysterious triumvirate known as the Dahome, has declared them all heroes of Trinidad, as have lodged a formal diplomatic complaint with the Federation. The popular religious group known as the Chasm of the Stars has begun calling their deepists to prepare the people for conflict. A combined Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar fleet enters the Gamma Quadrant through the wormhole outside of Bajor and is destroyed by the Dominion, apparently in a planned ambush to neutralize them as a threat in the Alpha Quadrant, the Battle of the Omarian Nebula. This has sent shockwaves throughout the powers of both Alpha and Beta quadrants, with the Dominion threat being the acknowledged singular problem for the Federation since perhaps the Borg. It is well known that in the last several months, both construction of new Federation starships, as well as refits, upgrades, and reinforcements of existing vessels have significantly ramped up, with the Federation going so far as to bolster their forces by activating a number of vessels from the Mothball fleet. This is already stressing Federation and Starfleet resources, both for craft and personnel. This is probably a very shocking bit of local and Pan-Federation news that reaches the crew at this point, and I'm assuming is very, very troubling. Let me ask you, each of you, from your character's perspective, hearing about that Dominion defeat, what kind of impact does it have on your character? I mean, this is ostensibly a prelude to war. I mean, people have thought that the Dominion was going to be a threat and that war was likely, which is why the Federation is kind of ramping up. But this seems really, really likely now.
Dr. Bassa would be really concerned that being drawn into a war of a large magnitude may, I don't know, diminish that Federation exploration part, right?
Right.
If we go full board into this, does that change us completely? Am I not to have a part in the Federation? Because that's not really what I signed up for.
Right. Starfleet was never meant to be a military organization, even though it has been called upon to defend the Federation many times in its past.
Yeah.
Celis is worried about the proximity to Bajor, to the wormhole, the proximity to the threat, and is worried that although currently non-aligned and not part of the Federation or Dominion, that his people again will be caught up in a bloody, costly war.
Kirid is first and foremost saddened by the fact that peace could not be maintained using diplomacy and mutual understanding between the Dominion and the Federation. The looming war doesn't trouble him as much as the knowledge that peace could not be found, for he believes peace can always be found.
Marcus, he is very perturbed by the threat the Dominion pose. He's the fleet that went into the wormhole was immense, enormously powerful, and to see it just get wiped away, he's wondering what might happen if those ships come through the wormhole. If the Dominion ships come through the wormhole, what would happen? He's not sure.
Right.
Can we just take a moment and appreciate the background of Michael's place?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right?
Yeah. I want to believe.
I'm assuming the X-Files is the reference there.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
Especially since there's a UFO up there.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
I think there's some Babylon. I mean, no. Battlestar Galactica.
Paraphernalia up there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's Plaid.
So much
And
much
then
plaid.
there's plaid. So much plaid.
Yeah.
I didn't hear all of that, but yes, Captain Celis does love plaid.
We were appreciating your wall hanging. So.
Ah, yes.
All right. What I think we'll start with is essentially that, Captain, you get a communique from Admiral Joshua Heath. That's just a recorded message. And what it essentially says is that it informs you that the Trinidae have lodged a formal diplomatic protest with the Federation Council. It has not gone through the entire process to be accepted as a formal protest yet, but it has begun the process. The Federation Council, he's very upset because the Federation Council doesn't want this area of space to be something that they have to worry about. They have bigger fish to fry right now. And so he informs you that he has been reassigned from his cushy desk in San Francisco to come out to set up dual offices on Starbase 117, The Hole, and on Castoria. And so very soon he will be in the neighborhood, and at that time he'll definitely want to meet with you and your senior staff to go over the progress that you've made in the area thus far. Definitely, there is a tinge to that statement that's not like a threat, but I should not have to leave San Francisco and be on a vessel for 2 months to get out there, and I kind of blame you for that.
Okay.
While he does this, he instructs you as to your assignment that he's hoping will help to fix the problem in the area and help provide some stability and peace in the area. And what he does is he says that through diplomatic channels, the Bonaventure senior staff has been invited to the wedding of Caesara Ozark Krell. You are to take members of your senior staff. The wedding is for 5 members. The invitation is for 5 members of your senior staff that you can go there, and you've been asked to act as what's called the Judalar. Now, the Judalar is kind of a symbolic figure in Orion weddings, where you are going to be asked to stand and witness the wedding on behalf of the Ozark Krell family, and you are going to be tasked with staying with Caesara for the whole of her wedding night until morning, so that you can ensure that she neither flees nor that she dies. In Orion weddings, this is as symbolic and vestigial as kind of the idea of a best man in Earth weddings, that kind of started as an idea that the best man is to be there to actually defend the groom physically should he be attacked. But in this particular case, it's the Orions, and the force of law is still on it. He warns you that he is about 84.3% certain that this is some kind of a trap. However, he does tell you with a level 9 security clearance, so your and first officer's eyes only, that by so doing this, he has reached an accord with both Orion families that as they unite, they will refuse to supply weapons to the Trinidae. That's the cost of you doing that. And so the get is very high on this. He definitely plans to try to use this as a way to broker some goodwill between the Orions and the Federation, but also to try and work out something so that he can either weaken or ingratiate the Federation to the Trinidae. So that's the situation that you have. It is going to be set at Othris Station, which is an Orion station a couple of days at high warp away from you. Any questions?
Nothing can go wrong. I don't think we,
I remind everyone I have enough inoculations now to figure out this Orion female thing.
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem going forward.
And Commander Kieran, you gotta take it.
I have no problems with taking it. You didn't have it early enough last time.
You should get a double dose.
Yeah, well, but I mean, with the result, I thought maybe you'd be willing to miss out on it.
Of course not. Of course not. Wasn't that great? He's lying.
All right. So with all that stress hanging over you, Captain Argel, why don't you read us your captain's log?
Okay. Captain's log. The Bonaventure senior staff are invited to the wedding of Cesara Zakrel and Thavan Zebruz Krell, strengthening ties within the Orion Syndicate. This is a rare opportunity to see an Orion wedding. These two families are already related by multiple marriages, but remain rivals because of bad blood between their older members. That balance of relationships and rivalry among these two families helps keep the balance of power in the quadrant.
All right. So what are you going to do now? First of all, you haven't necessarily debriefed after the last session. So between the last session and now, likely what has happened is you went back to Castoria, fixed the Bonaventure breaches that were in play. I mean, Liaison Jazzo had a front row seat to that entire thing, and he seems a little perturbed by what happened, but he doesn't say much before he beams down. And so you have a debriefing from the last episode if you want, and then the new orders. There is a level of the amount of orders that you can give the senior staff. There's a question about who in the senior staff you're going to make sure goes. And also your first officer, you can tell everything.
Okay. Well, I think first things first, it would be great to have a debrief about our previous situation and to then brief the crew on this new event. So we're going to the ready.
All right. The ready room or the briefing room?
The briefing room.
Yeah.
This is a fun briefing room.
Then we take out the toys and we squeeze them because we're a little stressed. Then we feel better.
My pet targ is a chatty targ.
All right, so everybody kind of arrives in the briefing room. Captain Argel is there. He probably has like data pads in front of him as he's working through. He seems a little more stressed and is distracted than normal, as is rational when your boss gives you a little bit of a dressing down. And go ahead, take it away.
Well, staff, we recently had a very tense encounter. The Trinity and the Orion over the unknown vessel that paid a visit to Trinity. And it is my understanding from Starfleet Command that they, well, more or less okay with the overall outcome and that there weren't hostilities, have significant reservations about exactly how events played out. And I'd like your feedback on that to kind of improve moving forward.
David just immediately leans forward and says, I think everything was fine, really. I mean, we kicked everyone's asses, right?
Thank you, David.
That's about how seriously I take David's comment.
That was a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Much time, right?
With respect, Captain, I must agree with Starfleet's assessment. I believe that things could have gone better. The fact that the outcome was what it was is incredibly fortuitous. Things could have gone very poorly for many people based on what happened. And I'm not saying it's all of it's our fault, but I think we could do better.
In that situation, Commander, what would you have done differently?
I am of the mind that it is, when possible, it is best to work together in all earnesty to reach an outcome favorable to everyone. The level of deception that was employed I was uncomfortable with the amount of deception that was used.
Ithrazi looks a little shocked with Kieran saying that. A little taken aback.
I would second Commander Hex's comment. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20, as humans like to say. So
David looks at you. He's like, "You get you're human."
I ignore him. However, cooperation would have seemed to be the best course of action at the time, from the very beginning.
Well, I believe that a peaceful solution may have been found. I also don't believe the assertions of General, not Vlasek, the other one, that it is our fault that things happened the way that they did. While we share some of the blame, we were not alone in that situation.
Thank you,
Captain?
Lieutenant Commander and Commander. I appreciate your input.
Captain, permission to speak freely?
Permission granted, begrudgingly.
I feel as if it was my fault. I should have taken more precautions and learned more about the Trinity and about all people involved, so I could give a better briefing before we all met. And it was a misstep on my part, and I will gladly take any punishment or anything that you deem necessary.
I don't believe that you are responsible for the actions of either the Orion or the Trinity, though having the most information possible benefits the decision-making process. But I don't believe that punitive action is appropriate at this point. But I appreciate your input and your candor.
From now on, I will make sure to give you thorough, detailed reports on all species, all the things I know about them, research whether they have any telepathy, things like that, and try and give you all the information necessary. And again. Sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Bassa. Again, not fully necessary, but I appreciate your contributions.
Ithrasi leans forward and says, Captain, tactically speaking, we've proved ourselves the dominant force in the sector. This does help us in many ways. As you know, many diplomatic situations open up when your enemies respect your ability to use force. Doesn't mean that we have to. And I don't make light at all of the death of crewman Jenkins, the injuries, or even the comatose Dizrak. That being said, I fear pushing the Tyranidae out, as the Andorians say, onto the thin ice.
The situation was extenuating, and we will do our best not to alienate them and to engage them as allies moving forward, as potential allies.
Then maybe engage isn't the opportune word there.
Maybe.
No, I know what you mean.
I get a little nervous with the silence, and I start wiping down the table even before we're done our meeting.
We have an ensign that can do that, Doctor.
It's not going to stop me. Yeah. The more awkward things get, the more awkward I make it. Not on purpose, but...
This is why we like having you in these meetings.
The input from everyone is appreciated, and we'll do our best moving forward to make sure that your points of view are incorporated into the decision-making process.
Thank you, Captain.
Okay, so is that it for the briefing, or?
And fortunately, despite the incident that took place, we have been invited to a wedding between two important, powerful Orion houses, and we will be making our way there shortly. And I
What houses?
And I provide appropriate information as to the orders that I've received from Starfleet Command.
Which is what? What exactly are you telling the senior staff versus anybody else?
That we will be attending this wedding in accordance with Orion custom, and we'll need to, I believe, be playing best man to the bride-to-be, and that we should all do our best to observe Orion customs and not offend or inflame the situation.
Marcus asks, who is the bride-to-be?
The bride-to-be is Cesara.
Kira tightens visibly.
Ithrasi and David look over. Ithrasi looks disapprovingly at Kirid, and David just goes, oh yeah.
So inoculations all around. Sounds good.
If I may be so bold, Captain, this seems an odd request.
Well, given the recent hostility between the Federation and the Orions, I feel that this would be an important opportunity to mend fences and engage in a meaningful, productive way, even if it's not the most orthodox mission we've received from Starfleet Command.
All right. And he just shakes his head and goes into silence.
So we'll be making our way towards the wedding rendezvous point at a reasonable speed. Dismissed, all.
Define reasonable.
Warp 5.
Thank you.
Well, dismissed, everyone.
Okay.
As Marcus walks by Kirid, he gives him a little pat on the shoulder and walks out.
I will flinch under his touch.
Ifrasi gives you a glare, Kirid, as she walks out.
That's fair. I deserve that.
I finish cleaning and I let him know that don't worry, his tests for any sexually transmitted infections has come back clean.
Thank you, Doctor, for conveying that news to me here and now.
I was just reminded of it for some reason.
I appreciate that. I'll be in my quarters if anyone needs me, and he immediately leaves. That's
The sounds
That was
coming
awkward.
from your mic is something else, Michael.
It's a pet targ. She's angry at the best of times.
So you dismiss everyone, everyone leaves?
That is correct.
Okay. So the next thing that I would like to do, obviously, you set course to the coordinates that were given and take off at warp 5. I did want, if people are interested, to allow people to have a scene concerning Dizrak and crewman Jenkins. Does anybody want to do a scene right now about?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we start with you then?
So as I'm in the infirmary and I'm puttering around, I'm making sure we have enough inoculations. Dizrak's still in the coma, correct?
Yeah, he'll be in the coma for this entire episode.
Yeah, so at some point, making sure no one's around, I bring a stool towards him and I let him know how much his work is appreciated. And I talk to him about the most kind of mundane things. And I just kind of tell him what I've been doing all day. Any kind of funny anecdotes. I tell him about slamming Kirid with the STI thing. And I laugh to myself. And I pat him on his shoulder and as I kind of putter around some more, I go to just a computer console and I record, audio record any memories I have of Jenkins and our interactions, which were not a lot, but the way he would laugh at some of my really simplistic jokes, and he seemed to be really kind and how I didn't realize how much someone I barely knew, how their death would affect me. And I also promised to check myself out and make sure that my mental health is good once a day, just to make sure that I'm on track.
Does anybody else want to do a scene about Dizrak and or crewman Jenkins?
I'd like to do a scene about involving Dizrak.
Okay.
Okay. I want the scene where Marcus, he goes to sick bay and he's standing there. He's telling them all about, the Helms diagnostics that they've been working on, how they could really use his expertise, his help. Tells him about the maneuver that that I did in the middle of that battle with the Orions, how I ducked underneath their disruptor fire. And then as I'm telling that story, Xandra walks in. And Marcus all of a sudden gets really tense and awkward and uncomfortable. And I think I want to challenge a value.
Okay. What value?
Never cruel or cowardly.
Okay. How are you going to challenge it?
Well, a relationship is not something Marcus is really used to. And he's not sure if he has the courage to take the next step. She kissed him on the lips during that training exercise, and he's not exactly feeling brave to take that next step. Yet he's got this value that would say he shouldn't take the coward's way out and just ignore it, nor should he be cruel to Xandra and avoid her.
Okay. So she comes into sick bay. She sees you. Lieutenant Commander?
Lieutenant.
Long,
Marcus
awkward
kinda
silence.
Yeah, Marcus kind of shuffles over to give her a spot at Dizrak's bedside.
She moves up and looks down and kind of a long, protracted silence and just goes, makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah. What um what are you thinking?
Just life is short. You never know
Mm,
when. I mean, we're out here thousands of light years from home and anything could happen. And it makes the decisions you make today more important. It looks at you.
Marcus, he feels incredibly warm, and he starts tugging at his collar like it's too hot.
Kind of just looking at you kind of expectantly.
Yeah. Um. Uh.
Well, I have a duty shift to get to.
I have some work to do as well. I should go.
Bye, Lieutenant Commander.
Bye, Lieutenant.
Both leave. So that is, I think, a successfully challenged value. So what you do is erase that value, and we will talk about adding a new value at the beginning of the episode.
Okay.
And in the meantime, what happens is you get a point of determination. And what determination means is that once using that point of determination, you can automatically critically succeed on something. Or get one critical success, which means two
Okay.
successes.
Right.
That makes sense to everybody? So yeah, that was
Yeah.
a good challenge to a value. So this is what I had been talking to you guys about before, is the values you have there. I'm completely comfortable with playing those values as though they're just like a list of things that kind of define your character. If, however, you look at one of those values and you come up with a reason that in the storyline makes sense for you to challenge, and you enter into a scene where you kind of do the opposite of that value, and you successfully role play it out and we're both kind of happy with it, then you do get a point of determination at the beginning of the next episode. We come up with a new value to replace that. Everyone clear on how that works?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else want to do? I don't know if it's possible to take the squeaky toy away from the Targ.
You're
Well,
muted.
The Targ has a mind of its own.
The Targ will find the squeaky toy, no matter what.
There are several.
Anyways, so does anybody else have a scene they want to play out with regarding Dizrak and Truman J?
It's not necessarily much of a scene, but the captain sits in his ready room and has decided to take the time to, not really knowing crewman Jenkins terribly well, to read his file, list of his different commendations and academic distinctions, and decides to write a brief letter to his family, just indicating that he'd served well and died in the line of duty. And
Kieran is going to actually do the same thing because he was there with him when he did his heroic final deed.
yeah, the captain's going to give kind of a general commiseration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
These can all be bundled up and sent out together because his commanding officer was Ithrasi, so she's probably doing the same thing.
The more letters the family receives, probably the better.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Kira, did you want to have a scene regarding either Dizrak or Crewman Jenkins?
No, the captain literally took the scene that I wanted to have. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought that was
very
I
mean.
thought that was a really good scene, actually. So, way to go, Captain.
No problem.
Privilege of power. Gets to go first.
Yeah.
All right. Phenomenal. At this point, what we can do is I would like to go through the leveling up session and do that. Now, Aaron, if you're listening to this, we don't necessarily have to include a lot of this in the podcast, but I thought it would be a good thing to manage now. Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to be losing some reputation here.
You think so?
Probably.
Okay, where is experience and promotion? Probably around there somewhere. Put up 293 and see if I can. So I would suggest that this is a probably a normal milestone. So a normal milestone occurs at the end of a adventure. I don't know. It's 3 episodes in. I think I'm going to give you guys a spotlight milestone.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So, what we're going to do is a truncated version of this. Basically, all characters right now can choose 2 disciplines. You can reduce one of those disciplines by 1, a minimum of 1, and increase the other by 1. What would you like to do?
Ooh. And so the maximum is 5, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Maximum of 4 for this purpose.
Oh.
You don't have to do this. Option that
Why not? I'm going to take away from con and add to medicine.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm happy where I am.
Okay.
Ditto.
Okay. Captain?
The captain is going to take away from medicine and add to engineering.
Okay. You may also choose at this time to choose one of your focuses and replace it with another focus.
Hmm.
Oh, wait. No, you can only do one of those things. So,
That's fine.
Okay. You can either choose 2 disciplines and do that. You can either do that, choose one of the character's focuses and replace it with another focus, or you can select a supporting character that was used during that adventure and use one of the above options for that supporting character. And you, since it's a spotlight milestone, you also get to choose from another list as well. Choose 2 attributes and reduce one of those attributes by 1 to a minimum of 7 and increase the other one by 1 to a maximum of 11. And choose one of the character's talents and replace it with another talent. Or select a supporting character that was used in the adventure and use one of the above options for that supporting character. Or choose 2 of the ship's systems, reduce one of those systems by 1 to a minimum of 6 and increase the other to a maximum of 6. Or choose 2 of the ship's disciplines, reduce one of those disciplines by 1 to a minimum of 1 and increase the other to a maximum of 4.
I am absolutely replacing a talent. My talents are garbage. I chose so poorly.
Okay, so what talent would you like to cross off?
I would like to cross off. Sorry, I have to open up the sheet real quick. It is follow my lead.
Okay. You're going to get rid of follow my lead, and what were you going to add?
I need to take a look at the list before I make that decision.
Okay, do that right now while I talk to everybody else.
I am.
Sorry, what page are the talents on?
Talents are on 135.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, the normal milestone one includes, that's the first one. Who's going to go next? Maybe we'll start there and we'll just work it out.
Sure.
Okay, so would you like to choose 2 disciplines and reduce one of those by 1 and increase the other one by 1? Would you like to choose a focus and replace it with another focus? Select a supporting character that was used in the adventure and use one of the above options for that supporting character, which at this point you can choose any of the supporting characters. Which would you prefer to do?
Sorry, I was trying to ignore the clock, but it's going to go. I think I want to change of focus.
Okay.
I think with all the different theories we've been testing and stuff, maybe something like experimental medicine. I don't know.
Experimental medicine?
Yeah.
Okay, and what focus would you like to take away?
I think I'm going to take away science training protocol.
Okay, science training protocol and replace it with experimental medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. And as for the spotlight, would you like to choose 2 attributes, choose one of your talents, select a supporting character, or choose 2 of the ship's systems, or choose 2 of the ship's discipline?
I think I'm going to choose do I have to change them?
No, you don't have to.
I think I'm going to keep it the way it is.
Okay. All right. Timothy or Michael?
Tim?
I will change a talent.
Okay, well, let's start with the normal milestone first.
Oh, okay. So
that's so you do have a value that's been challenged and crossed out. We could do that
Yes.
right now.
Why don't we do that now?
Okay, or you can do any of these other things.
I'm not too interested in any of the other things. I think I think do the value one.
Okay. All right. So which value are you going to replace the value with? Challenge.
Let me think here. A coward in relationships.
Is your value. Okay.
That'd be the new value, yeah.
Okay. Coward in relationships. That's a perfect way to use a value to help to develop your character as you go. All right.
Okay.
Now the spotlight milestones, you can choose attributes, talents, supporting character, or a ship system, or the ship.
I'm going to choose a talent.
Okay. What talent are you going to choose to get rid of?
I'm going to choose to get rid of resolute.
Okay.
And I am going to take push the limits.
Okay. Great. Kira, did you decide what talent you're going to get rid of and add yet?
Yes, I've already gotten rid of my talent, follow my lead, and I'm getting instead the talent to defuse the tension.
Okay. Captain, back to you.
Hello. All right. So where would you like me to start?
First with the normal milestone stuff. So a value, 2 disciplines, focus, replacement, select a supporting character, do any of those things.
So with the disciplines, I'd like to take 1 away from medicine and put 1 in engineering.
Okay, great. And spotlight milestones, so that's 2 attributes, a talent, supporting character for any of those, or any of the ship systems or discipline.
I'd probably like to replace a talent.
Okay.
Replacing studious with, let's see here. replacing studious with technical expertise.
Great. Now for reputation. So we'll go through this process for everybody. So when last we left our Intrepid Heroes, everybody's reputation was at... You guys write down your reputation as I asked you to?
Yep.
Great.
Mhm.
Why don't we start with Timothy?
Yeah.
Your reputation was at what?
8.
8. So that means your character's record is somewhat uncertain and your performance is questionable. They are viewed as being too quick to disregard Starfleet's rules and regulations, occasionally insubordinate, or they have gained a reputation as unnecessarily reckless. Pretty friggin' accurate. Okay. So, let's see. How you do this. Actions in keeping with Starfleet's values will see an increase in the character's reputation, and choices and outcomes which reflect poorly on Starfleet will diminish your reputation. So, we consider the outcome, so we decide how many positives and how many negatives you have. Did you act in accordance with orders and directives during this last section? In the last episode, especially?
Pretty sure I did.
I think you're right. That's a positive. You did not challenge a directive, but you did challenge a value. So we won't worry about that. Prevented combat.
Wasn't... no.
No.
I did not encourage combat either.
That's not what it says. Did you have any personnel under your command who were killed? I don't think so.
No.
Did you resort to lethal force without cause? I don't think so.
No.
Establish an alliance with an enemy? No, I don't think
Not
so.
really. I don't think so, no.
Do you act above and beyond the call of duty? Now, this is a question for the group.
He performed well.
He did perform well. I don't know that he went above and beyond the call of duty.
Yeah.
Did you take any unnecessary risks in the course of the mission?
Not this time.
Not this time. So you have one positive. So you make a reputation check. This is resolved in a comparable way to a task, although it uses different scores and ratings. Character rolls the number of d20s equal to the number of positive influences. 1.
That
And each d20, the roll that equals to or less than the character's reputation is a success.
Roll it.
Interesting.
oops.
11. That is not a success. If the number of successes scored is less than the number of negative influences, the character has lost reputation, which is not a problem here. You have 0 negative influences, and so you scored no successes, so you're fine. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you're fine. You do not increase with your reputation, though. Kieran,
Mm-hmm.
what is your reputation sitting at?
11.
11, not bad. Did you act in accordance with orders and directives?
Yes, I did.
Were you... okay, I'll accept that.
He never ordered me not to sleep with her.
We'll get to that.
No, that,
Okay.
but not here. That, I did follow orders.
Did you prevent combat?
I tried.
Did you have any personnel under your command who were killed?
Jenkins was killed.
And
Yes.
you were commanding the away.
I was commanding the awayman.
Okay. Did you establish an alliance with an enemy?
relations and alliances. I don't know where the relations. It's going to be a negative, but whether it's here or whether it's in one of the later ones, I don't know.
Okay. Did you directly contribute to saving lives?
No.
No? Hey, getting some feedback there. Did you
okay.
act above and beyond the call of duty?
No.
No?
Sir.
No?
Nah.
Hey, did you take any unnecessary risks in the
That's the
course
one.
of the mission?
That's the one.
Okay. So you have 2 negatives and 1 positive for your reputation. So you roll number of d20s number of d20s for the positive influence. That's 1. Natural 1, not bad, not bad at all. So
Lucky.
that's 2 successes. You had to have more successes than you, or equal or more successes than you had penalties. You had 2 negatives. So you lose you lose and gain no reputation. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Bassett Item.
Yes.
You act in accordance with orders and directives.
Yes.
I agree. Did you prevent combat?
Yes.
How so?
When I was manning the ship and the Orions, and it was all me, and talked out of fight.
I absolutely agree with that, actually.
Yep.
Did you have any personnel under your command killed?
No.
No. Did you resort to lethal force without cause?
No.
Did you establish an alliance with an enemy?
No.
Did you directly contribute to saving lives?
Yes.
Absolutely, I agree.
That's unfair for the doctor. Of course she did. She always
But
will.
in a big way,
That episode was
agree.
pretty big. And
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give you 2 positives for that, because I can, at Game Master's discretion, give multiples. And not only did you take command of the ship, you also cured everybody. So I think that's worth 2. Acted above and beyond the call of duty.
I'd say so, because
Yeah.
I'm not a commander, and I don't.
I would say so too. I think this is going to go very well for you, actually.
Yeah. That
Um,
one episode was a big one.
and did you take any unnecessary risks in the course of the mission?
I don't think so. It's pretty cautious.
Before we roll this, I just remembered that at Commander, your privilege rank is a 3, and you rolled under that, Kirid.
Uh-huh.
So, let's see. Each d20 that rolls equal to or less, scores 1 additional success. So that's what we did.
Yep.
Though it was a natural 1, does that already score 2 successes, typically?
I don't know if that would apply here or not. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay.
I really don't think I should go up in reputation for what happened during the last mission. I really don't. Maybe in David's eyes, but that's nothing that I'm proud of.
All right, so Dr. Bassa, you have 5 positives and no negatives. So if you score any successes, you're going to be above this. So 5 d20s.
All right.
And what was your reputation score?
It's 13. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, that was the first one. Ignore the last one.
Okay. All right. So, so your rank responsibility is 19 or 20, and you rolled a natural 20, so you got 1 point in there, and you got none under your privilege. 1 responsibility. Okay. If the number of successes scored less than the number of negative influences, the character's lost reputation, plus an additional blah 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 for either further 1 for each die that rolled with the rank's responsibility. Okay. So, how many successes did you roll? You rolled
4.
4 successes.
2 successes.
Why
Unless your
2?
reputation was 15. If your reputation was 13, you have to roll less than, or 2 less than your
Oh,
reputation.
2 less than my reputation.
What?
Mm-hmm. Know what you said?
You have to. Why do you have to roll 2 less than your reputation?
That's what you had said.
No. Your rank privilege and your rank responsibility. So privilege is 2, so that's at the if you roll a 1 or a 2. Your rank responsibility is like 18, 19, 20. You roll in those ranges, it has an effect, and if you roll that, yeah.
So I have 4 successes.
So 4 successes and 1 penalty,
1
so that's
penalty.
3 successes. So I think that you increase by 3 reputation.
Woo!
So what does that increase your reputation to?
To 16.
Wow. So you've moved up a whole nother rank. The character has a fine record, including a few commendations for exceptional performance. They're viewed as good and dutiful officers, and their expertise and perspectives are worthy of consideration. Gaining a good reputation. That story about taking commands spreading in the Federation, I get.
Yeah.
Okay, Captain.
Yes.
Did you act in accordance with orders and directives?
Sort of.
Sort of? What do you mean by that?
Attempted a peaceful resolution to the situation. Everything went to shit.
Okay, I'll say that you did act in accordance with your orders. You didn't go against any orders. Did you prevent combat?
Try to avoid combat. Again, may have precipitated it in attempting to avoid it.
All right, I will not give you one there. Do you have any personnel under your commander killed? You had 1, certainly.
Yes.
This is the shitty thing about being captain. Like, no matter who it happens to, it happens.
I'm responsible.
You're responsible.
Yeah.
Did you resort to lethal force without cause?
I don't believe so.
Did you establish an alliance with an enemy?
Attempted to.
I actually think you did for a time when you put together the co-led mission to go look at the Walian ship. I mean, it was a deception, but it technically was also an alliance with an enemy. Did you directly contribute to saving lives?
Yes.
How so?
Had either the Orions or the Trinity succeeded in their goals with the Walians, they would have either disrupted the balance of power, which surely would have cost lives, or would have just resulted in the destruction of the Walian ship, which would have killed all the whales.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Do you believe that you acted above and beyond the call of duty?
No.
Okay. Did you take any unnecessary risks in the course of the mission?
Unintentionally, but yes.
Okay. So you have 2 negatives and 3 positives. So what is your current reputation?
So anything that was stored in text files is still languishing on my old computer.
Did you not record it on your
Character
sheet?
sheet?
Character sheet.
Hang on.
That's where I had mine, like way at the bottom under other equipment. I always
did
carry
not.
a reputation with me.
I did not. I had a text file.
Okay. So I'm going to have it at a standard 10 then.
Okay.
As captain, your privilege is 4 and your responsibility is 17 to 20.
Mhm.
You roll 3 dice. You have two negatives.
So 3d.
20.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Just
Great.
about perfect. So you have 3 successes and you had 2 penalties. So you have actually rolled more successes than you have. So your reputation increases by 1.
That's improbable, but great.
So write your reputation on your character sheet. Put it down as a.
Okay.
Okay. Phenomenal. So that is an interesting spread in the crew as it stands right now. Kirid has kind of staying in the middle. Captain is staying in the middle. Both of you are in that kind of, your record is solid and your performance is satisfactory. The default state for the character's reputation, neither bad nor necessarily awesome. Marcus is still languishing down. People see him as hot-headed and impulsive. If he would stop, punching people or crashing runabouts and stuff, we'd be fine. But he's been very good since then. Has everyone noticed that?
Absolutely.
I
Phenomenal.
just friggin' remembered that he gave the Trinidae or the Orions a whole bunch of ammunition to use.
Right.
In keeping with Marcus's big mouth and impulsive nature. Yeah, good. Hey, thank you so much. So that is that. Okay, so why don't we take a 5-minute break really quick, and then we'll reconvene.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Hey, folks.
Yo.
You back?
All right, everybody's back.
Hello.
All right, let's get started then. So with that all out of the way, so at Warp 5, it takes you about 2 days to get to Authris Station.
Ooh.
There you see it in all of its glory.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, Authris Station is a complex amalgam of at least 2 previous space stations over a Class K planet with some pressure-domed colonies used for manufacturing and mining/resource collection. Neither space stations are of Orion construction or design, with the pure portion of the first section being unidentifiable, and the second apparently being Ferengi surplus.
Lovely.
Because we all know Ferengi have lovely surplus.
Yeah.
Ferengi are good at taking stuff from other people, though. So
It's true.
Hey, if you watch your back, the Ferengi can get you lots of good stuff.
oh, for sure.
And we got to remember, like, the Marauder class Ferengi starship is stated in Star Trek The Next Generation in the first season as being roughly the equivalent of a Galaxy class starship.
They take their trading very seriously.
All right. So as you guys move up towards the system, eventually you get the image of this amalgam space station smashed together. It looks like both of these things were like towed here. Neither of Orion design, obviously. You definitely see a million different patches. There are a significant amount of Wanderer class starships and freighters in the area. As you come forward, you are being hailed.
On screen.
All right. You get a Orion man comes on screen. He's not wearing a shirt, and he's got many kind of piercings, and he shaved his head completely bald, and he's put kind of tattoos running in like flames across his upper face, starting at his nose and going back across his entire bald head. And he says, "Who are you?"
This is Captain Celos Argel of the Federation starship Bonaventure.
The Judalar. All right. You are free to dock at docking pylon 6. Be careful. It's been acting up lately, but if you break it, you bought it. Also, remember that only 5 members of your senior staff can have the authority to come on board. Is that clear?
Very well.
All right, great. Station, Authris Station out. And he goes off.
All right. Kira, can we scan that docking port and see exactly what's wrong with it?
Is this something that would be like offensive to them if we did? I don't know how.
Like a passive scan, since we're going to be attaching ourselves to it.
I mean, doing a sensor scan before you dock to something isn't like a hostile act or anything. I mean, they invited the Federation to what essentially is the 24th century version of a pirate's cove. So, I mean, the idea that you're going to be a little careful is not unexpected.
All right, may as well. I'll scan the loading dock.
All right. So you come up and you're going to scan it. Let's see.
I'm guessing this isn't a loading dock made of plants, so my botany focus wouldn't apply.
Probably not, and it is not a loading dock made of plants this time.
I'm going to keep asking, and you're going to say yes one of these days.
Absolutely, it's probably going to happen.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Lovely. That is 3 successes. This is a difficulty 1 task, so it's quite easy for you to get everything you need to know about that. So you can ask 1 question with a natural 1, or with 3 successes. I'll allow you to ask 1 question and get 2 momentum.
All right. I'm thinking, and the crew, if the rest of the crew could back me up, it's like, how do we safely dock to this loading port given that it's acting up, is the question we're looking for.
That is my concern.
Okay, so question, how do we safely dock to this landing port given that they're stating that it's acting up?
Okay, so basically what the problem is that the automated features and close proximity tractor beams that are normal on most docking bays are non-functional. Now, they're clearly functional on other docking bays that are open right now.
Yep.
So you can dock here, but it's going to take a little bit of tricky flying in order to make it happen. The other option is not docking at all and requesting permission to beam down. Either one of those is an option, but you'd have to make contact and make an.
They requested that we dock at this terminal, and although it seems to be a troublesome place to dock, I think that we should use our Starfleet ingenuity and know-how to go where they asked us to.
All right.
Great.
That means it's up to Marcus to not crash the Bonaventure into Othra Station.
Again. Not that Othra Station was the one, but you did crash into a station before.
But that was with a runabout.
Not the Bonaventure. Runabout.
You've never
Completely
crashed
different.
the Bonaventure yet.
No.
We
So
do have
control-
momentum as well.
Yes, it is a control plus con test.
What's the difficulty on it?
It will be a difficulty 2 task. And I'm going to spend 2 threat from my 4 to increase the complication range by 2. So if you roll a 1, 2, or a natural 20, 19, or an 18, you will have. Oh wait, how do we tell that? Oh, on the screen.
With our eyeballs.
With our eyeballs.
I rolled 2 natural ones. What are the odds?
So if you roll any of those, there will be a complication.
All right. Do we want to spend any of our newfound momentum?
Well, we're just going to lose it when we go to the next scene, so might as well.
Mathematically speaking, if you
All
add
right.
extra dice with momentum, there's actually a higher chance that you have complication.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
but if we don't dock at all and have complications, that's worse.
20, 20, 20.
I also have a determination point.
Don't spend it here.
Yeah, no,
No.
let's use that for
An actual situation.
the
All right.
inevitable situation that will greet us at the wedding.
When I fail? Okay.
When we're ambushed, yeah.
So am I using momentum or not?
I would suggest you throw in a point of momentum.
Yeah.
Why not?
All right.
So that's an extra
3
dice.
And we have the focus of Helm's operations.
Yep.
Here it goes.
Oh!
Excellent.
Wow, that is 6 successes. Successes across the board.
Wow.
Not only do you slide in, so Marcus, how do you make this look flashy as hell?
Well, you know how often when ships are coming into dock, they kind of line up and then slowly ease in.
Right. Not Marcus.
Bonaventure doesn't do that. She kind of just swings in, and she just.
And Excelsior class ships are huge.
It's
Yes.
almost like you get an e-brake turn to like
Yeah.
the spot.
What am I imagining?
Like the captain's probably gripping his arm, the arms of his chair, going, "Oh, you see that's coming, right? You see it's coming, right?" And boom,
Just perfect.
doesn't even feel it.
So you just slide yourself in there perfectly. As soon as you hit, the computer goes, airlock needed. And you just hear from behind you a whole bunch of people exhale.
What? Did I do something wrong?
No.
Ithrosi's just shaking her head. That is a mighty good pilot there.
And that's another 4 momentum we get too, right?
Yes, that is another 4 momentum you get. So you're up to 5
Nice.
momentum. Bop.
Nice.
All right, beautiful. So you now have airlock achieved. Now it is a matter of choosing who goes aboard. Captain?
All right. So for this, I'm thinking it would be appropriate to bring along the senior staff. Dr. Bassa, Kirid, Marcus, myself, and just because we're a little bit worried about trouble afoot, Xandra as well.
Okay. So with that complement leaving, Ithrosi will be in command. Bonaventure while you're gone.
Very well.
I just want to let people know that on the way there, I was like researching customs, anything I could find on Orion marriage customs, which probably wasn't like everything in the world, but like trying to do my due diligence and prove to my captain that things won't blindside me. And so anything I can give him, I overload him with information.
Sure. Do you want to make a check to see if you learned anything interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you make a insight plus command?
Insight and command. And of course, because of my Trill background, one of my former hosts was a marriage commissioner. And so calling upon information from talking to numerous people getting married and things like that.
Okay. Only a difficulty 1 task.
Yeah. But I feel like it's one of those weird things that I would just do lots of.
Yeah, that's 3 successes. So you are now maxed out at 6 momentum. And you can ask a single question about Orion weddings, and any further questions you get will be cost 1 momentum apiece. Yeah. So the first thing that you get before you even ask a question is that Orion weddings tend to only happen from members of powerful families. Most Orions don't get married, and it is a quasi-religious, quasi-heavily cultural event that has a lot of symbolism and meaning. There's a giving of gifts, and there is an exchange of vows, and it's officiated by some type of cultural spokesperson that acts as almost clergy for the situation, and there's strong undertones of slavery throughout the ceremony.
Right.
And of course, it eventually ends in complete debauchery.
Yeah.
Cool.
The thing that I want to ask is, I know that Captain is to stay with the bride, and I want to know what that entails.
So that's your first question.
Yes.
So that's the Judalar. I'll write it down here so everyone can see. That's Jhoudalar, Judalar. And it's not the captain. It's all 5 people
Oh, okay.
act in this role. And that role is typically assigned to a neutral third party that is not aligned to either family.
Gotcha.
If you have any other questions, you have to spend momentum.
Did you want to know anything else, Captain?
Oh, what does that entail?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
So what that entails is witnessing the wedding and staying with the bride during the entire first wedding night and ensuring she both does not flee. If she does flee, she will lose all things that she has, which includes all rights to property, all current property that she holds, as well as her freedom. And also to ensure that the bride is safe until the morning. Of course, this is seen as a symbolic position.
Okay. So I relay all this information. Captain, would you like me to look into this further?
Do you have any questions you feel like are pertinent but have yet to be answered, Doctor?
I am a little worried about the spending the night thing. But that's probably just fear. So I don't know if you want me to research that more.
Go ahead and research that a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll use a point of momentum to find out, like, being there the whole night, what are, like, the first wedding night, what are we probably going to see and or do? Because that seems weird.
What was that question? Sorry?
Spending that whole night there, right? I want to know what we will see and or do that first wedding night when we're all there. And
essentially, it's a giant party, right? It's a huge party. There's a giving of gifts, and then there's just a massive party afterwards.
So we just follow her around for that night?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. That's what I wasn't sure. I was on, like, do we go into a room and just watch her and make sure she doesn't escape, or just follow her around like a bunch of creeps? Option 2.
Yeah, you will be a bunch of creeps. That's right.
I'm good at that.
We could do that. If anything, we are creepy.
We are actually perfectly suited to this job.
Okay. I think that's it.
Okay. And so that brings your momentum down to 5. All right. So you have your away team. Ithrasi and Xandra both recommend that you arm yourselves before you go on to the Orion station.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Hand phasers, Captain?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So you hit an armory on the way by, and he passes out hand phasers for everybody. For the science officer, they give a tricorder, and of course a medical tricorder for Dr.
Marcus holds up his hand. Can I take my mek'leth?
Yes, you may take your mek'leth.
It is hidden underneath the jacket.
Great.
I want to
Just
make
like
sure
Worf
I
has
take
it.
extra
It's sitting under there
inoculations
so you can
for
pull it out.
Orion women too.
What's that?
Extra
is-
inoculations for Orion women because I just
Yeah,
wanna make
if
sure
you
that
give
they-
everyone an inoculation now, they're going to
we're
be
good.
fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it's not going to be a problem at all.
So I'm paranoid, so I'll still take more.
Okay.
it is well known with what the crew has learned so far that the Orion people are very much accustomed to concealed carry, whatever that entails. That's a phaser, it's a mechlith. You just kind of expect that something's going to be in someone's shirt, boot, pants. There's going to be some weapons.
Are you in dress uniforms?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone in
Going to a
dress.
wedding.
Nice.
Going to a wedding. What do you
I hate
expect?
dressy
Jeez.
uniforms. Marcus is tugging and pulling. He is not comfortable.
Now, Captain, which dress uniform are you in? Are you in the tunic?
Ooh, I like the tunic ones.
Or are you in the white version that shows up in the movies?
Go for tunic.
The tunics? Okay.
Yeah.
Those, yeah.
But in this particular case, you all belted on belts so that you can have hand phasers. I like it. I think that's
Fashionable.
sharp. Okay. So you guys all get over to the airlock and you're ready to go. Okay.
Here we are.
So at the airlock, Ithrasi walks you down there. You see there is 6 security officers on guard on the inside of the airlock, and there's an additional 6 in the hallway. She's taking 0 chances. She personally opens up the airlock. It opens up. Whoosh. When it opens up, you can just hear the noise and get hit with the smells, and you kind of step through. The additional 6 security officers come through with Ithrasi. They're carrying phaser rifles, and they kind of span out in front of the airlock, and Ithrasi orders them to stay here so no one can mess with the airlock.
Good.
Okay. Then as you leave, Ithrasi goes inside, closes up the airlock on the station side, and then on the Bonaventure side. And you guys are now in the interior of Othris Station. The interior of the station is an oppressive mix of darkness and bright flashing lights and advertisements, competing foods and smells, and thick, greasy smoke. Rampant poverty is in existence, with all of the attendant problems, alongside lavish wealth. While the Federation is present, though, all obvious examples of slavery are shut down. Its presence is barely hidden. It's a place that both tempts and turns the stomach in equal measure. When you get in there, coming around the corner, flanked by guards, is Ozarkzo. Ozarkzo walks up to you with a big grin on his face, and he says, "Ah, Captain, the Bonaventure made it, all fixed up from our tangle."
Indeed. And can we say the same of your vessels?
Everything's fine. Thank you for being worried.
I am certainly glad you are no worse for our encounter.
Of course, of course. All a misunderstanding, all in the name of business. Nothing personal, you understand.
Of course.
I hear things are going very well between the Federation and the Tyrinidae.
And we can only hope that the diplomatic fortune that we've experienced with the Tyrinidae will extend to the legitimate activities of the Orions.
Of course, of course. Well, I've definitely been in conversation with your admiral, and he assures me that you will do your duty here to the best of your abilities as Federation or as Starfleet officers. So I'm very, very excited. turns and looks at Xandra, and he's like, "Never seen you before. Who are you?" She just kind of glowers, and her hand twitches a little. What like most people don't notice, but certainly Marcus and Kirid noticed that it was a barely concealed uh, kind of subconscious grab for her hand phaser. And she just kind of steps back and doesn't say anything.
Marcus wordlessly smirks.
Well, you'll obviously want to get freshened up in your quarters. Is this what you're wearing?
It is.
Oh, it's adorable. Well, follow me, Captain, and bring the little people.
My staff will accompany you. Carry on.
He turns around, and him and his armed guards kind of start moving through this crowded maze, this Byzantine maze of the interior of the station. You see people huddled together, cooking over open flames in corners, making little shelters of cloth. Families huddled together of all different species. As you pass, people are coughing. See work people coming along covered in soot and grime and wearing around their necks a clamp with a chain coming down, and at the end of that chain is a what Dr. Basa immediately recognizes as a radiation counter. They're walking along, and you can see that there's kind of pocking on their faces already from whatever conditions they're working under. As you're walking along, though, you do see people shopping in this bizarre kind of shopping district, and some of these people surrounded by armed guards are fabulously wealthy with ornate clothing and just spending latinum like they don't care about anything. You even see somebody walking by being carried on a litter by Nausicaans.
I believe this scene makes the captain, as well as everyone on the crew, kind of uneasy.
More than a little.
Yeah. Everywhere you go, you can't get away from this like greasy smoke. Like if you ever walked into a restaurant that specializes in deep frying stuff, and you walk in and kind of the grease just sticks to you, it kind of feels that way. And quickly you realize that there's a large population of people experiencing homelessness right here on the station. And they're just kind of crammed everywhere, and they cooking with these open flames, and whatever fuel they're using is giving off this awful greasy smoke, which can't be good for anybody. As this realization hits you, you suddenly start picking out that people are coughing here a lot more than is normal.
Doctor, what's your take on this?
So I have my medical tricorder, so I start pulling it out, just getting a sample of air quality, things like that.
Okay.
Seeing what it's made of.
You can make a reason plus medicine check.
Okay.
Oh, that's 2 successes. This is a level 0 task, so you'll go back up to 6 momentum. When you do this, you look around and you get your scan of the area. The air quality in here, it seems like the environmental controls either are set low or they are struggling to keep up. one of the two. And while the air in here is not at toxic levels, it's just verging on that. And so being here for short amounts of time would not have any adverse effects, and your medical science is such that even if it did, you could quite easily overcome them. But if you lived here and breathed this all the time and didn't have access to appropriate medical care, just breathing here would shorten your lifespan significantly.
I relay all of this to the captain.
If you want any more information, you'll have to spend momentum.
The captain, one of his focus areas is on Starfleet protocol. What would be the Starfleet protocol on taking in refugees on a starbase visit such as this?
Great question. I don't know that there is necessarily a Starfleet protocol that very neatly fits this situation, because you don't know what the political situation of these people are, right? The Orions aren't a sovereign state, right? They're a collection of businesses and crime families. So what citizenship the people here hold is very hard to tell. Nobody at this point has requested refugee status with the Federation. It's possible that some of these people are Orion citizens. Orion is a planet that's deep within Federation territory, but it is not a member of the Federation. And if so, then those sorts of matters would probably be handled under the accords that the Federation has with the Orions, which the Orions, of course, are a non-extradition state. They don't recognize refugee claims. They would likely see it as kidnapping if you tried to remove refugees. But again, it's unclear what the political situation here is.
Very well. We're going to take note of the conditions that we see here, and once this affair is concluded, provide a report to Starfleet Command so that a more comprehensive response can be planned to what seems to be a slaver station, or at least a not so great working conditions station.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising but not shocking to you that this stuff is happening on an Orion station. What's more disconcerting is that you're certain that someone with the mental aptitude of Joshua Heath, Admiral, would know generally what kinds of things you'd walk into. And he seems to be playing with fire a little bit. Right? You guys continue to be led through the paths. It would be difficult to find your way back to the airlock on your own at this point. As you go, Ozarkzo continues blathering on about meaningless things. He just seems to like the sound of his own voice. As you move through, he finally gets to a turbo lift. Everyone kind of piles and crams inside. The doors close. One of his guards puts in a code that he hides from you, and you go up into another level. When that level opens, immediately the air is clean. Everything is ostentatiously presented. There's rich green and red colors everywhere, plush, soft carpets. You see art pieces from all over the delta or the alpha and beta quadrants. And the first thing that kind of stands out to you is a 3D astrometric map that's set up as an art piece of the supposed borders of the height of the Orion Empire. Now, a little knowledge about the Orions is that it is well known and understood that their civilization reached its peak centuries before humanity reached the stars. And at one point, they were one of the dominant powers in the Alpha Quadrant. He sweeps his hand over and he says, "Your suites is over here." He waves over, doors open up, and a palatial suite opens in front of you. It's got a giant shared common area with a fountain on the inside, and the fountain is bubbling with bluish, fizzing water. There are several servants there that bow to you as you come inside, each one of them with a clamp around their neck, but no chains. He sweeps in and he says, "There should be rooms here." There should be room here enough for all of you. You'll be called when the wedding is about to begin.
About how long will that be?
Oh, only a couple of hours. If you need anything, just ask your servant.
I believe that the crew courteously follows the lead provided by this person, while keenly observing their environment and what's happening around us.
Okay. He leaves with his guards. You do see that 2 guards are stationed outside of your doors, and the doors close up. And once they close, you hear a distinct locking mechanism engage.
Oh, right. Shall we make ourselves comfortable?
I believe that we should wait until the time specified for the wedding to begin before we concern ourselves with the room that we are trapped in.
One of the servants comes up to you and says, "Can we interest you in an Andorian candied snow?"
What is an Andorian candied snow?
It is a drink, very sweet, and it is in an ice chips.
I decline, however, suggest to the officers present that they're free to indulge as they wish.
I would love one. Thank you so much.
All right, they give you one. Xandra says that she'll have one. Anybody else?
Dr.
No thanks.
Bassa's not interested, though she is super interested in making sure that if this is where we're staying, that everything is clean and good. And so she's just wandering around with her medical tricorder. She's preoccupied.
Yeah, so for those of you that did take them, these are essentially Slurpees.
Okay.
Yes, I knew I was right to take one.
And they're quite delicious. You do, on the first sip, realize they are alcoholic.
Fantastic.
Xandra takes a couple of sips, realizes that it's alcoholic, and puts it down, and she smiles.
Not putting it down.
She walks over and takes up a position by the door.
I'm going to wander around the suites just drinking my Slurpee.
Now, it's a very ostentatious kind of suite. What kinds of things do you see there that impresses you as to, like, they're definitely trying to demonstrate wealth and power to you. What kinds of things do you see immediately? Marcus, what do you see?
I probably see some of the artwork, especially the artwork that's depicting great moments in Orion history. Yeah. He's walking around the walls looking at these paintings. Some of
You
them battles, some of them just like coronations, or whatever.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of context for them. You do notice that one great big tapestry that's hanging on the wall that looks to be of a grand battle is very ancient and seems to be a tapestry depicting a massive space battle between Orion and Gorn.
Mm.
Jake, what do you see?
See the lavish plant life, the tropical plants, everything that's alive that they've incorporated into the design and architecture of the room.
So they have specifically incorporated a lot of plant life. Orion, planet Orion is known for its plant life. So they love plants in a lot of their architecture. But one thing that they've done just to display how wealthy they are is they have some Andorian plants growing up frozen in amongst the other plants, and they've managed to adjust this gentle balance so they can exist side by side.
That is phenomenal. Oh,
Michael, Captain Celis?
The captain is observing his surroundings. It somewhat marvels at what he sees, however, is preoccupied with the notion that unfree labor is occurring on this station, and he's kind of spinning his mental wheels, wondering what he might be able to do about it in this moment.
So while everyone else is taken in and taken aback by the things they're seeing, your eyes keep lingering on the surface.
Correct.
Okay. Dr. Bassa.
The thing that really strikes Dr. Bassa is all the lush materials and things everywhere, whether it be hanging from the beds. I mean, Starfleet is known for its very stark and plain rooms, and then added to the fact that Dr. Bass's bed she usually sees are in the infirmary where there's no like material, right? No porous things. Yeah, so she's amazed by it all, but also sees how much bacteria could be living in all of this.
All right. Very cool. So as you guys are looking around at this, do you want to kind of put your heads together and talk about what you've seen and what you've observed before the wedding begins?
we probably should.
So, senior staff, what are your thoughts?
And the fact that there are so many living below where the air quality is, well, it's most likely killing people. And obviously they have the technology to have the air quality better. I don't know if it's purposeful or just that they don't matter.
I would guess that it is a purposeful enforcement of their lower class upon them. But that is just my guess.
I would think it's absolutely purposeful. That these people are fighting for their health. They cannot fight against their masters.
So providing technical assistance to increase the air quality is likely not to be of much use in these circumstances. It's being used as a form of control.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Any other observations?
It's almost as if we were deliberately led deep into the station with specific intent that we could not find our way back on our own.
Does the commander believe that he, with his capacities for observation, would be able to find his way back on his own?
I think there's a low chance of it. One misstep or one misturn, and I'd be turned around. Using computers, using people, we could probably find our way back, but I fear we may be in we may be in danger.
Thank you. Any other input from the crew?
I don't know
What's the
what
status
mind
of
games.
Hmm?
I
Go
don't
ahead,
know.
Doctor.
I don't know what mind games are being played. Why would they show us that? Knowing that that's not something we approve of, when they could have had us beam over and not seen it at all.
Because they
Right.
want us to be uneasy.
Perhaps they're trying to provoke a reaction.
I agree.
Probably both.
Prime directive is at play here.
The conditions aboard this station concern me, especially given that the Orions are not a people that we need concern ourselves with protecting the self-determination of. They are a criminal organization. Everyone is to observe what they see here. We're not to make any actions that disturb the peace. However, we'll be bringing what we see to Starfleet with the aim of an intervention later on when we are more than just one starship.
May I offer a recommendation?
Go ahead.
We should report into the Bonaventure regularly to ensure that our communications they remain held. We don't lose contact with our ship.
That is prudent. Let's do that.
Sound.
Any other input?
This place is just creepy.
These slushies are delicious.
Getting
I'm
a little
glad
tipsy
this-
over there. You okay?
I've had one drink. I'm perfectly fine.
Okay.
I'm not a small man.
That's okay.
So let's absorb what everyone has had to say and wait for the Orions to summon us.
I'm after we all disperse, I make my first attempt to report into Bonaventure.
Okay. So you, Lieutenant Commander Barton to Bonaventure. Ithrasi answers, this is Ithrasi at the Bonaventure. How can I help you, Lieutenant Commander?
Just checking in. We're waiting for the start of the wedding. It might be a wise idea to keep a transporter lock on us in case something should happen.
I'm afraid that transporter lock is impossible on you where you are right now. We had been trying to maintain that. You're far too deep in the station at this point. Without pattern enhancers or getting you to a transporter pad, we can't beam you out right now.
Fascinating. Thank you.
I will say that at various points during your journey we could have, so it might just be the room you're in. I don't know, but we'll continue to try.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Lieutenant Commander.
I report that to the captain. Transporters are not functional in this part of the station.
I order everyone to remain extra alert and for Commander Hex to not enjoy any more beverages.
Okay. So as time goes on, the servants continue to ask you almost at annoying levels if you need anything, food or drink or companionship.
I'd love you guys to sit down and relax.
They seem very nervous when
We don't need anything. You might as well relax.
they stand ready.
I could use some food.
Oh, no problem. They run out and grab you a platter of food, of delicacies immediately.
Excellent.
As you are finishing up your food, the locking mechanism of the door clicks off and opens up, and there is a single elderly Orion standing there, and he leans in and says, "Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am Itomi. I will be your translator and guide while you're at the wedding. If you have any questions about the ceremony, I am quite capable of telling you anything you need to know." You notice he has on his robes a very high collar that is kind of comes all the way up to his chin, and it's in stark white, standing out against the rich purple of his robes. He's not wearing a clamp or anything around his neck, and it seems to be advertising that fact.
All right.
If you'll come with me, but first I must insist that you leave any of your energy weapons here.
All right.
We will consent and leave all of our energy weapons behind.
Okay.
When Marcus takes it out, he kind of does that. He does a Western kind of spin with the phaser.
It goes off. No. You
Damn it.
vaporize the
Never
captain.
Damn it.
Captain Argel's last words.
Marcus!
Damn it, Marcus.
Really?
God.
That's his epitaph.
He leads you out into the hall. You start following along this long hall that kind of curves, obviously around a curved circular central structure, until you come to great, huge open doorway. When you walk into this hall, it's kind of set up like a coliseum. There is a dais one side, and then there's two sets of stadium seating, and there's people, Orions, and other kind of species on both sides, and they're separated by a small partition. You are led to the one side and stood kind of in front of that, and then you're allowed to sit down. Your guide sits next to you and kind of smiles and waves at people, and it's kind of a raucous thing. You can see servants moving throughout the crowd, giving away food and bringing drink to people. They come to you to bring drink to you, should you so desire. It is quite something.
I just wanted to ask this, what was his name, Udumi? As we were walking, if he had any advice for us as we prepare for our role as Judalar.
Oh, just enjoy the show. It's quite something. A wedding of this magnitude doesn't happen every
But our responsibilities, I'm assuming that it's taken rather seriously, is it not?
Yes, you're to witness.
All right, then.
Yeah, you see, I mean, this huge hall is set up. There's sickly yellow smoke of dozens of intoxicating substances floating through the air. The Zubres family is on the left hand of the hall with the Ozark on the right. Everyone is armed only with non-energy weapons. You get the sense, Marcus, that they knew you had a mek'leth and they didn't give a shit. Lots of people have various bladed weapons of various designs throughout this area. You see the crowd is raucous, and eventually Ozarkzo stands up and says, "It is time for the gifts." Across from him is his so there's Ozarkzo and Zubreska. Zubreska is an ancient, obviously lecherous Orion, surrounded by females of various species of indeterminate relation to him. He just looks too ornery to die, despite multiple war wounds. He wheezes when he talks and always assumes. He looks around with this look that says he assumes everyone is as selfish and hedonistic. You, of course, remember Ozarkzo, the Orion family boss. He's big, rotund, but fast on his feet. He is the person that you tangled with in the past. Zabreska stands up. All right. And immediately, Dr. Bassa, you immediately recognize him. He was the person that attacked the Lethian colony ship. And then you stood down. He stands up. So, it's time for the gifts. Let us begin the ceremony. So, your guide leans over and whispers, so the tension in this room, of course, is palpable. Isn't it exciting? How you begin this is a giving of gifts, opening with the bride's family. And each gift must be more expensive and impressive than the last. And with the bride's family opening the gifting, they can essentially set the price. And there is a little bit of brinksmanship here, as you want to be able to give gifts to show your wealth. And if done properly, you can even break an inferior family. But I don't see that happening here. It symbolically sets the price for the bride.
Cool.
Lovely.
This is fascinating.
So first, Caesara's family comes forward, and Ozarkzo provides a bag of Andorian gems. They are laid on the dais, and they sprinkle off to the side, and everyone goes, "Oh!" And people seem quite impressed as that for an opening price. And the groom's family, Thavan's family, comes forward with a single egg. Pyrid immediately recognizes this as a Tholian ceramic egg, which is incredibly impressive and probably illegal on most. Next comes the bride's family carrying in multiple big crates. When they put down in front of, in the center between everyone, they open them up and they wave at them and say, "Breen hand disruptors." People are like, "Oh," there's a round of applause and a lot of appreciative murmuring that goes on. And then the groom's family brings in 100 barrels start being rolled in by servants. They go Klingon blood wine, and they tell you what the vintage is. And Marcus, you immediately recognize it as a fantastic. Following this, not to be outdone, the bride's family brings in 100 kegs of good Romulan ale. Following that, when things you thought could get no more ostentatious than this, the groom's family walks forward with a data pad and puts it down and says, a Ferengi mining concern near the Tsangathi coalition borders. Quite profitable. People go, oh, you know, it's quite impressive, very expensive, but it wasn't that showy. And then next comes the bride's family that brings forth something on a litter underneath a velvet kind of cloth, and they pull it back. Kirid, you immediately recognize this as a Betazoid sacred empathy poetry receptacle. What this is a collection of empathic, telepathic impressions that is considered by the Betazoids to be poetry. And this art form is considered lost. So the last few of these are priceless.
Well, that's upsetting that they have that. Great.
Then on multiple servants come in, each carrying a spherical kind of ball with a glowing blue pulsating light on top. They bring in several of these and then say, Gorn Subspace Mine. Now, these are illegal on every single arms treaty that the Federation has with even the Romulans and the Klingon. Everyone's agreed that these are too dangerous or dishonorable to use. The Gorn, of course, continue to use them. Then the bride's family walks in with a isolinear chip, puts it down, turns and looks at you, and Ozarxo says, a partially corrupted schematic file of a Federation Mark I quantum torpedo. And everyone's like, whoa! And they just break into raucous applause. People stand on their feet. They're cheering. People start throwing things. They're just losing it.
That's not good.
And then last, but definitely not least, the 10th and final gift given by the groom's family. They bring in a oblong kind of container that looks kind of like a photon torpedo. They open it up, and there is a corpse, a green corpse inside. And the groom's family says, this is the remains of a single Suliban corpse that has genetic advancements encoded into their DNA that are more advanced than any technology that we are aware of in the alpha or beta quadrants. And this is almost 200 years. Do with it. And people just start clapping and cheering. Impressions? Thoughts?
I'm trying not to react like on my face the entire time. I'm just like, think of something else. Think of something else. Wow.
Open outrage at the Betazoid artifact. Everything else after that, impressive and important though it may be, it doesn't have that deep sense of cultural rage that kind of blinds everything else.
The captain sees all these things that might provoke a reaction and thinks that in some way they might be meant to provoke a reaction and decides to keep a lid on it while keenly observing what's happening.
Marcus is visibly reddening with the revelation of the Gorn mines and the corrupted schematics of a quantum torpedo.
Yeah, you don't even really know what that is.
Okay.
Like, you know that clearly it's the next generation in torpedoes, but it's not. It has not been distributed. It's not something that's in production right now.
Okay.
So that's probably even more scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then the wedding ceremony proper begins. When the wedding ceremony begins, a woman steps in. She's named Perfection Nalem. You're getting this information from Edom, of course. She's an Orion religious and cultural. She's a gorgeous woman, Orion woman of some years, with the curves of a racing yacht. She has a religious cultural figure called a Perfection that presides over important cultural events like marriages. She's of neither family, but she travels the quadrant doing her duties. When she walks in for the wedding ceremony proper, she enters being carried on a litter carried by strong males of various species, including 2 Lethians, a Lurian, a Romulan, a Hyperion, and a Zindi arboreal. When the litter is put down, 2 rows of nearly naked Orion men walk in from either side of the hall, only to crouch down on all 4s in a row, for both the bride and the groom to walk on their backs. It's mentioned at this point that the length of the walkway is a demonstration of status and wealth, and the walkways both go completely out of the hall. Once the bride, Caesara, and the groom, Thavan, walk on their backs towards the center, to this dais where the Perfection is waiting for them. And once at the center, they continue to stand on this dais that is surrounded by living flesh, when a chain is brought to the groom, blessed by the Perfection, who says, "In the mists of old, Orion fists ruled the quadrant. Systems died and lived on our whims. Those days are gone, and our kind became more and less. What hasn't changed is our strength, our will, and our families. This day we repeat the actions that were laid down in old times, so these 2 young ones will know family and honor." At this point, the large metal chain is given the groom, who symbolically binds the arms of the bride, only to have the bride produce from nowhere, which draws murmurs of approval at her skill, a small and thin golden-colored metallic chain who binds the wrists of the groom. Following this, the Perfection continues. As the Orion Empire, who quadrants ruled, did not survive, and thus all was taken from us, this bride must prove her worth by surviving until morning with the protection of her non-aligned Judalar, or all will be taken away from her but her existence as it was with her people. You will have no property, no currency, no freedom, no rights to ever have these things. Now, by the light of the rising sun, you will be married, and these families will be joined. At this point, there is a huge cheer and a roar that rises up from the crowd. Everyone chanting and yelling and hurling slogans down as the 2 chained spouses lean in for a passionate embrace. At this point, it's time to bring us to our end of today's session. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. See you next week.